What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Sanjay Suresh. I'm a 16-year-old junior in high school, but in my free time, I run a few reselling businesses, and in this video, I'm going to be answering some of my most commonly asked questions. I get a lot of questions on Instagram about Amazon FBA and just the ins and outs and some other stuff, so I'm going to be answering those questions right now. So one of the most common questions I get is, where do I get the products I sell on Amazon? And that's actually a really easy question to answer. But first, these are the different types of sources you have for selling on Amazon, at least the main sources. So there's wholesalers and distributors, which are people who are companies that sell in large bulk quantities directly to you for business purposes. And that's not exactly the easiest way to start because you're probably going to need a lot of capital because you're buying in large quantities. Now you could also do private label, which is when you get your own products made from somewhere, usually China, usually from somewhere like Alibaba, DHgate, places like that. That's kind of how people get into private label. I almost forgot about thrifting and garage sales, which is kind of how I got into Amazon. I got in with a mix of thrifting and retail arbitrage, but thrifting is a great way to start because you can get products for really cheap and have some great margins because you can find books for $2 to $3 that will go for upwards of like 50, 100. People have sold books for several $100s that they've gotten from thrift stores for like $2, $3. Doesn't happen often, don't expect it, but you know, you'll find plenty of like $20, $30 books if you really put the time in. I also used to sell thrift store electronics. It's a little harder because you have to test every feature, every function, make sure all the functions on the devices are working before you try to sell them. But I used to make a lot of money doing that, and it's honestly still viable if you're interested. I honestly don't know a lot about private label, wholesale, or buying direct from distributors because that's not really my business model. I focus on online arbitrage and retail arbitrage. So if you don't know what that means, it's simply like going to a Target or Walmart or their online stores and buying products from there. So for example, I just went to Walmart yesterday and bought a bunch of clearance items that I'm going to be selling on Amazon using FBA. That's what I really like to focus on, selling groceries, clearance items, stuff like that from my local stores and online stores. Now, a lot of things are going to be restricted, which leads me to my second question. What items can you sell as a new seller and what items are restricted? So if you've heard about selling on Amazon or you've done a bit of research, you know that some products are going to be restricted. Quite a lot of products are going to be restricted when you get started, and that's just part of the game. It's like that for everyone. When I started selling on Amazon about 4 years ago, I was restricted in grocery, health and beauty, like the entire category was gated, as well as all of those major brands. Not all of them, but you know, most of the big brands you think of off the top of your head, Beats, Apple, Nike, Adidas, Lego, all those companies, I'm still gated for a lot of those companies. It really does not matter that much. Don't really need to worry about it because there are so many other products you can sell. Now, you can get ungated for a lot of restricted products after you've been selling for a while. So it took me 10 months to get automatically ungated in grocery. And when I say automatically ungated, I mean I click on the request approval button and I got automatically approved. It did not take me to the page where it asks for a form, a receipt, a order manifest from a wholesaler or distributor or manufacturer. In most cases, when you go and click request approval for a brand or category, it will ask for a manifest showing the order of 10 units of the same item from a distributor or manufacturer, which is similar to wholesale in a sense. To be honest, I only got ungated for one brand using an invoice. That's what it's called, invoice. I kept saying manifest and receipt. Invoice is the word I was looking for. If you want to try to get ungated for brands doing that, you have to find a distributor online, or even maybe you could find a local distributor and you can get ungated that way. Plenty of people do that. It is worth it if you have a specific brand or a specific item that you can make a lot of money on, and you can find a distributor that will help you get ungated. All you have to do is buy like 10 of the same item and submit that invoice. Always check what they're asking for on Amazon before you go and buy anything. But I remember when I wanted to get ungated for Sony, because I came up on a bunch of PS4 controllers, I ordered 10 packs of batteries from a Sony distributor, and although I lost money on them, I lost about $100 on those batteries somehow. I got ungated for Sony so I could sell these PS4 controllers, which I got 50 of, and I ended up making a decent amount of money on those, so overall it was worth it. That's the kind of situation where you would want to get ungated in a brand or a category using an invoice. Now, as I was saying earlier, I got automatically ungated for grocery and health and beauty after 10 months of selling on Amazon, and I was at about $25,000 in sales at the time. What really goes into that automatic approval is how many sales you've had, revenue total, and your feedback. Your feedback is really important, and you're not going to get a lot of feedback, so you really need to make sure your feedback is positive. If you get negative feedbacks, make sure you get those removed. You can find plenty of videos about that on YouTube. I've had almost all my negative feedbacks removed because most of the times they're not your fault. But if they are, then they are probably going to stay on your account. I've had 2 that have stayed on my account, and I'm not really worried about it because they don't weigh down my percentage too much. It does kind of suck, but you've just got to move on. I kind of already answered this question, but usually people also like to ask, how do you get ungated for brands and categories? And it's just by selling more. Up your volume. If it's lower profits, you might want to take it just to increase your sales and get more feedback, because you never know which order is going to leave feedback, and you never know how many sales, how much revenue you need to get auto ungated for a category or brand. After those first 10 months, I got auto ungated for grocery and health and beauty, but it took about another year to get ungated in a bunch of different brands. So I remember one day I was at Walgreens and I got auto ungated for Puma, I think. I don't know why I checked Puma, but I checked a bunch of different brands. I got ungated for Timberland, a bunch of different brands like that. And it's just nice to be ungated and stuff because you never know what you're going to find when you're doing online arbitrage and retail arbitrage. But I'm still gated for Nike, Barbie, Disney, Starbucks, a bunch of brands like that. I'm not going to worry about it at all. I'll get auto ungated when the time comes, if it does. In the meantime, I'll just keep selling what I've been selling. Another important thing to know when you're getting started with Amazon is what is the sales rank. So when you open up the Amazon seller app and you click on a listing, you'll see in the top left of the screen there's a number in black and it'll say a category name right next to it. That is your sales rank on that item. Now, sale ranks are based on categories. So for example, 1 million rank in books honestly isn't terrible. It's not the fastest mover, but you have to consider there are so many millions of books on Amazon that 1 million out of all of that is actually in like the top 5%. Meaning that if you found a book with a 1 million rank, it is in the top 5% of books selling on Amazon. Now, if you want to educate yourself more about those, look up Amazon sales rank chart and look at the different categories and look at the percents, because you'll notice that for each one varies. For example, for PC parts, very high ranks, like 1 million in PC parts, I would definitely pass on that item. It's probably not selling very often at all. There's just not a lot of PC parts listed on Amazon. Meanwhile, in groceries, 100K is pretty great, honestly. Personally, for grocery, which is probably my main category outside of like Q4 and other seasonal times, I like to keep it under like 200K usually, but if the margin is there and there's not that many sellers or, special circumstances here and there, I'll definitely pick up an item that's ranked more than 200,000. For example, if there is no sellers, the rank is probably going to be really high because that item probably hasn't been sold in a while. So the rank will just keep going up because no one's selling it. So if I were to come in on the listing at a reasonable price, it might sell pretty quickly. Now, there is a tool you can use that will help you out with that. It's called Keepa, and part of it is free. So if you want to see price history for an item, and when the item is in stock, you can use Keepa. All you have to do is go into the seller app, find your listing, or go on Amazon, find your listing. You have to find the ASIN, copy that, put it into Keepa, and it will pull up the price history and kind of sales history for that item. So you see the line right here. Where it cuts off is where the item went out of stock. You can see sales rank history if you pay for Keepa. They're not sponsoring me. I just like their software. It's really good. A lot of people use it. It's about $120 per year. You don't really need it if you're just starting out, but once you get maybe a year or more in, you might want to consider it because it might help you make more purchases and make more money. Personally, I think it's really useful, especially if you're selling books. That's the main reason I had it, because in the summer I like to sell a lot of books, but it's a nice tool to have, and it's tax deduction. Moving on, another important thing to know is where to get your supplies to pack orders and ship FBA shipments. So I get my supplies from a few different places. I get boxes in bulk from Uline, small boxes for merchant fulfilled orders. I get my bubble mailers, envelopes, stuff like that, usually from eBay, and usually it's pretty cheap, like $500 for $50. And I usually get bubble wrap on eBay too, and I also get my tape from Uline. I bought tape a year ago, and I bought like 36 double rolls, so 110 yards instead of like the standard 54.6. And I've still got plenty of tape left from that, and it was pretty cheap. But if you're just starting out and you don't want to buy supplies in bulk, just buy your supplies from Walmart and Home Depot. They're relatively cheap. The one thing that's not that cheap is bubble wrap. You might want to stick to buying that online because it's probably way cheaper. Usually I would pay $40 for like 4 times the amount that Walmart sells, if not more. And Walmart usually charges like $16, $20 a roll, so it's a pretty good deal online. But the other stuff like tape is usually pretty decently priced in stores. I get the big boxes for FBA from Home Depot. I like their boxes, and usually they have a ton in stock, but you can also get them from Walmart too. Sometimes I like to get them from Walmart as well if I'm just there and it's more convenient. The prices are fairly competitive, but also they're kind of hard to compare since the sizes they sell at Home Depot and Walmart are different for each size. A medium at Walmart is smaller than a medium at Home Depot. So it's really just your personal preference. Wherever you can find big, cheap boxes is probably the best place to get them. And you could also get free boxes from stores if you just ask around and be nice to the employees. I used to do that a lot, but now I just found it more efficient to just go buy boxes since they're not too expensive. Another really common question is what software and courses do I use? And I really keep it simple. So I've never taken any courses for selling on Amazon personally. I don't think you need any courses if you're just trying to get into retail, online arbitrage, thrifting, stuff like that. You really don't need a course. All the information you need is free, and it's available on YouTube, on Google. It's just on the internet, and you can go find it if you just put in a little time. And that's really how I got started. I read a book. I actually didn't even read the book. I saw this book, which inspired me to go watch some YouTube videos, and I watched a ton of Reezy Resells, the Side Hustle Network, bunch of resellers like that. We've got an awesome community of resellers on here. So if you really want to learn about reselling, you don't need to spend a ton of money on a course because most of the information you need is going to be available for free. Now for wholesale or private label, I'm not experienced with those at all, so I don't know, maybe it is more viable to get a course for that kind of thing. But always do, your research on YouTube first and try to learn as much as possible before considering investing in a course. And there's nothing wrong with using courses. I just don't really like courses that much. As far as software goes, I use Keepa, which is about $120 per year, and that gives me access to sales rank history on basically every item on Amazon that I want to look up. And I also used Inventory Lab, which is an accounting and listing software, which is about $500 a year, I believe. And it honestly really saves me a ton of time with the accounting side. Selling on Amazon makes filing taxes way, way easier since I use TurboTax and I don't have a CPA right now. I remember 2017 it was a complete mess because I didn't have Inventory Lab, but 2018 I did, and it was way, way easier, not a headache at all to do taxes with Inventory Lab. That's the main reason, but Inventory Lab also has a bunch of other cool features. You really don't need it if you're just getting started. I wouldn't recommend spending money on that if you're just getting into Amazon and you don't have a lot of capital. Save your money for buying products and growing your business. Once you've reached a point where it's kind of hard to keep track of things, then it's probably a good idea to invest in some accounting software. I also have the Amazon Pro selling subscription, which if you sell more than 40 items on Amazon per month, you should definitely get it because what it does is it removes the $1 fee that's charged on every item you sell. So if you don't have a Pro subscription, if you have the individual account, it's going to charge you an extra $1 per item. If you get the Pro selling subscription, which is $40 flat a month, it's not going to charge you that $1 fee. Since I'm selling more than 40 items a month, I'm definitely going with the Pro subscription just because it saves so much money, and it also has some other things like it lets you get ungated in brands and categories, which will be restricted, and you won't be able to request approval until you upgrade. If you upgrade, you'll be able to request approval. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get ungated, but it gives you the ability to request and submit an invoice if you have one. But yeah, those are some of the most common questions I get asked about selling on Amazon and FBA. So if you guys have any other questions, make sure to drop them in the comments below or DM me on Instagram at SanjaySureshTMS. I'll link that in the description as well. I love answering your guys' questions and hearing your feedback. Any video ideas or tips you might have, I'm definitely open to them. Make sure to leave them down below. I'm going to be dropping a full step-by-step walkthrough of an FBA shipment from sourcing to listing to packing to dropping it off. So If you guys want to see that, make sure you subscribe so you get notifications on when I upload that. It's already filmed. It's probably going to get uploaded by the end of the month. But make sure you subscribe so you get notified when it does come out. And until the next video, see you guys next time.